Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ed DeVeaux. I'm the president of the New Jersey Cannabis Association, the state's first and largest trade association, developed for the support and the creation of a responsible, sustainable, diverse, and profitable cannabis industry in the state of New Jersey. We're really glad that you've joined us this afternoon in our Lunch and Learn series. This is an opportunity not only for you to hear from some of our state's biggest names and experts in the cannabis space, but also for you to have an opportunity to network. In the time BC, before COVID, the New Jersey Cannabis Association had an opportunity to do in-person networking. We had very successful events with respect to numbers and the locations, the geography, and now that we're still waiting for many restrictions to be lifted, what we figured we would do is have opportunities like this to come together with not only our association membership, but with those of you that are interested in the industry. But we do encourage you to visit our website, www.newjerseycannabusiness.com, and absolutely feel free to check out memberships. We have individual memberships and corporate memberships. We have levels of corporate members that are part of our Lunch and Learn series. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to us. Before getting started, I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Burton Trent Public Affairs and New Jersey Buzz, who is one of our production partners in this process. And clearly, I want to thank ABS, ABS based in Trenton, who is also one of our producers of this program. So everyone, once again, welcome to New Jersey Cannabis Association Lunch and Learn series. Today, we are honored to have with us Bill Caruso. Bill has an extensive history in New Jersey's cannabis space. He serves as the association's counsel to our board of directors. Bill has been quoted, has appeared on several programs with respect to the cannabis industry. We have a terrific professional relationship. I don't think that there's anyone in the cannabis space that hasn't heard of Bill, but now you really get to meet him in person. Bill Caruso, I'd like to welcome you. Bill Caruso of Archer.
Thanks, my friend. When you were touting all of our experts and the impressive role that this organization has played, I was actually waiting for those folks to come on, and you kicked it over to me. So I feel like there's a lot of burden on my shoulders to produce here. I just say this as if you permit me a moment of advertisement for this organization. I've been involved in this cannabis experiment for almost all of my adult policy life. I started working for Congressman Rob Andrews at the ripe old age of 22 back in 1997, right after California dabbled with this crazy medical experiment in 1996. And I remember sitting in a car driving along the road with my boss and begging that he not ask me about this issue, because I didn't want to go into my background. I didn't want to talk about what I did in college. And I could tell from his tone, a prominent moderate Democrat, he didn't believe that this was ever going to be something that we'd be talking about. And so you fast forward to my time working in Trenton, I was privileged to work for two speakers of the New Jersey General Assembly, Joe Roberts, and our current Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver. We worked on phenomenal policy, touching upon medical cannabis at the time when medical cannabis wasn't really popular. Jersey was very, very visionary in its effort. It doesn't feel that way, but we were. Back in 2008, 2009, 2010, we established a pretty good beachhead into the medical program at a time where medical was not all the rage, if you will. And unfortunately, time languished. Policy didn't adapt the way it should have due to politics. And, having the right governor is important, and having the right people in government is important. It didn't. So, but I've been so privileged to be a part of this community and this movement, and so many people that have along the way, we're going way back in the Wayback Machine here, that have been transitioning to change this culture. And I feel like I'm home here because Ed and I have known each other for decades, I think now. We're dating ourselves in the government policy space, right? Substantive, serious government policy. That's where this conversation belongs. This is substantive, serious government policy. Ed has been a leader in industry, in every industry of the state, whether it's the Chamber and the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. This is an industry, an important one now for our economy. And I think the ability that we've succeeded together in changing culture is the most prominent success, culminating in the passage of legalization, adult use legalization, finally. And the transition now to a regulatory body of experts with the CRC's 2 meetings under their belt now. I'm excited. I'm excited about the future for the industry, for the movement, for the patient community, for the culture change that continues, including the federal level that's going to need to be there, but the ability to continue to lead on policy. And this organization has put its money and its membership where its mouth is and has really leaned in heavy on so many different aspects of good policy and continue. So, Ed, you count on my continued support, my continued efforts. I am excited about the future here, and we'll get into what that is, but I just didn't want to miss this opportunity for that.
Bill, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And, it's kind of funny, as you were speaking, I'm thinking of the old, if you've ever flown the former Continental Airlines, United, right? You've had your choice of airlines that you could have flown, right? People have their choice of organizations that they can join. And we all cover different spaces. And you've been a leader in a couple of the other associations and organizations, be it patient advocacy, social justice, and so you've had your choice, Bill, of any airline that you could have flown, and we are just thrilled that you've selected and accepted the role here at the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association. So for our membership, for those of you that are joining on, again, I encourage you to use the chat feature to network as we have our discussion, but more importantly, check out the membership. We not only represent license holders, but we represent future license holders. Those of you that are interested in obtaining a license and touching the plant, as well as all of the ancillary businesses. I checked out the chat feature and I saw many of you that are part of the ancillary support services for this industry. So we encourage you all to become members of the Cannabis Business Association as we develop the industry and as we maintain our platform of, again, a responsible, sustainable, diverse, and profitable cannabis industry. So, Bill, I'd like to jump right into the discussion.
Yeah. So that's a great segue in.
Why you're here today. When we talk about the license program in the state of New Jersey for 10 years, we've had licensing. We've had licensing requests for applications, and there's been application processes, not without their challenges. But one thing is clear. That the application process, although we don't know what it's going to look like under the CRC, but we know that we will have an application process, some form of one. And so, Bill, your experience is going to lend itself to today's discussion, sharing with those that have joined us, that are interested. There are some do's and don'ts, there are some lessons learned, and also just want to talk about what people can maybe expect. There are definitely some things that are going to be consistent going forward, right? There are going to be pieces of information that the state just needs to have. So if we can talk about the application process, maybe let's start with what happened in the past and some lessons learned.
I think the best place to start is know what you want to be, and you indicated here. An ancillary level. I've had people come to me with unbelievable amounts of resource to tell me they want to, grow cannabis or grow marijuana, wherever they want to call it. And these folks don't have the experience to do that. And you're talking about well-established companies or experts in a cultivation field You either are or you aren't. And, you know, I guess you can buy it if you have enough resources, but the idea that you're going to buy a plot of land and just start growing pot, you know, and I literally had a guy come tell me that, you're the guy, I'm hiring you, and go get me my license, and that's what we're going to do, and I'll just hire a bunch of people to just grow the pot. I'm like, no experience at all. That's crazy. But he ended up becoming a landlord because that's his expertise, and he's going to benefit from this cannabis experience by being a landlord. And he will service this market in that place, and it's a smart place to be. So don't discount the ancillary economy. And I say that as a lawyer who is not on any license. Despite my experience in this space, I am not in the quote cannabis business. I'm the co-chair of a legal practice for, I guess, the fourth largest law firm in the state, because that's what I do well. And I know where my sweet spot is. So I'm staying there, and I'm going to provide advice and counsel to clients, hopefully for the remainder of my career, which hoping is like 2 more years, because I really want to kayak for the rest of my life. But so just so first advice is, what do you want to be? And where do you want to be? We're a regional economy collectively in all industries, but in this one in particular, we're still north, central, south in terms of how these RFAs have gone out. If you're in the north, you're in the north. If you're in the central, you're in the central. And if you're in the south, you're in the south. So where you're going to apply or how many you're going to apply and what that's going to look like is important, because thus far, everything has been contingent upon, do you have agreement from your town? So you got to know where. And you got to know what. The ability to go into an industrial park and get, you know, the town to approve some type of grow or process or warehouse, generally you're going to have most folks okay with that. It's the retail component that gets a little dicey. But some good news. This horrible pandemic experience has provided 2 really good things from a cannabis perspective. One, it has helped to legitimize cannabis even further. Cannabis won. Whatever you want to say about the November 2020 election cycle of the 2020 sector, cannabis was a huge winner. It won on the ballot. It won in hearts and minds of patients. It won in the hearts and minds of people. We are polling at the highest levels of approval we've ever had, and more people are coming around on the culture change. But we saw a horrendous issue related to retail in our communities, where you know, brick and mortar stores suffered just unbelievable losses. And that was from a restaurant standpoint to, you know, retail, you know, boutique type stores. Main Street was decimated by this pandemic, and that's not fixed yet. In fact, we haven't even been through the full boat, because so many lease agreements were frozen because of the emergency orders. We're going to have a foreclosure crisis, the likes of which we've never seen in this country. So hell's coming, unfortunately, from a government economic perspective. You folks are all the answer to that to some extent. You folks bring boots into cities, into downtown areas, and I've seen it. I have seen mayors say, we'd really love your retail over here. And when it goes over there, all of a sudden, other things come. A Wawa, a new gas station, at a vacant place that never opened in the last decade, but will now, because the traffic counts go up when cannabis comes to the table. Mayors are becoming more educated about that right now. So the number one thing that I think you folks can be doing right now, if you're interested in this space, talk to your local government officials. The number one thing I get is, well, where should we be? It depends. There's not one answer for one person. You are a large warehouse facility. You want to process large amounts of cannabis and turn it into oil, or you want to turn it into product. Great. You want to go to an industrial park. You're not going to Main Street to do that. People aren't interested in that on a Main Street effort. So you want to be in the right space. And you want to see what's available from a real estate standpoint, but you also want to see where the town's going to be. And more than likely, they're not an open yes. There are going to be a couple towns that are passing ordinance and say, come on in. More and more, though, what towns want to see is, who are you? What nexus do you have to the community? What are you going to do from the community in a positive way, right? I mean, what's your message? What's coming? Retail, I think that's a little bit more challenging. You do have a 2% wind at your back, thankfully, to the constitutional amendment, where there's revenue now attached to this for towns, and there's, believe me, a lot of need for revenue right now. But 2% on a deal isn't life-changing money for a municipality. It's some throw around cash, spending cash. You maybe put lights on the ball field, or you're going to do, repave the bike trail or something, right? That's for them to decide. You're just there as the cash cow coming in. But the retail traffic, and I keep using this nexus to the craft beer industry because I just think it's so profound. And folks that are in the lobbying space or government affairs space kind of know this. When craft beer came a knocking a couple years ago, big liquor stood up and said, hell no, you're not coming in here. No. We thank you very much. You go brew it somewhere and we'll buy it and we'll resell it at our markup, and we'll maybe give you a tap on, in our bar, but you're not allowed here, right? You want to brew in your basement or in your garage or in some warehouse somewhere, fine. But direct to consumer, nope. The problem is the market took over. Mayors fell in love with these breweries. They literally created renovated downtown areas where there weren't. The other interesting thing is the same competition that they were seeing from the bar tavern community, the BYOB community, the pizza shop, the taco shop, and even higher end restaurants started to fall in love with the fact that there were retail traffic coming in where people would put a takeout order for a pizza or a plate of pasta and bring it down to the brewery and go drink craft brew. It wasn't hurting the bar crowd though, because the bar crowd was still getting the bar crowd side. People want to go get a mixed drink, or people want to go for a more social, or there was a band playing, or they're going for a sit-down dinner, which you weren't getting. There was a niche that was filled, and the mayors fell in love with it. And so today, what has it been, about a dozen years later from the advent of New Jersey's craft brew experiment, it's been a success. And we have local government leaning in heavy now to want more of it. We have this craft brew industry that's established itself. I sense that's where cannabis is going in New Jersey too. And I think we're going to get to a place where you're going to see the big dogs, just like we have in the big, liquor industry. You're going to see these major players, these MSOs here. They put tremendous investment in. They're going to continue to grow, and they're going to fulfill a role. Some may stay on the medical side. They never come over to the adult use. Some may. But there's going to be opportunities that are going to be scalable in a variety of things. So know where you want to be. Know what you want to be. We have not seen every aspect of every license yet. So we don't have any home delivery licensees yet. That's coming. That's actually going to be established in regulation. So if you're looking for a home delivery license, if you're one of these folks that you've got a model, it's coming. And I think now that we have a CRC, we're going to start to see what that's going to look like. Is it going to be competitively bid? Is it going to be what this organization has advocated for, criteria-based, where if you can check this box and you are part of a current operator and you have a relationship, you're in, right? We don't know yet. I think that's a place that we're going to be able to lean in with the CRC and help develop. What does a processing license look like here? Where will there be a processing round? Hint, yes, there will be. I think we're going to be leaning in very heavy to the processing side, which we don't have yet. There's a concern about the dearth of available product here in New Jersey, and a diverse product, not just flower. So I think there's a real high demand for separate standalone processing licensees to come in and create new innovation, the likes of which we haven't seen in this industry. And if you'll permit me, just my own 2 cents for the folks who are real experts out here in this space, I think that's what lasts the test of time. I think this craft cannabis idea will continue, and I think the processing, manufacturing base, the jobs that are going to be created will continue. I don't think grow, cultivation alone has a long shelf life here in New Jersey. Our labor costs, our land costs, our energy costs are really cost prohibitive for indoor only growing. There will be boutiques, of course, because of particularly on the medical side, because the controls that are needed. But I think mass grow, mass production of oil is likely going to head south, if not offshore, once federal legalization, whenever that happens, whenever that change occurs, happens. So I'm leaning in and advising clients right now, look to processing, because I think there's an ability to establish a beachhead here, create some brand identity, white label for others. Those seem to be very interesting opportunities because we haven't had them yet. And let's remember, and it's fun having this type of audience that is steeped in this world. I mean, we're not talking about Cannabis 101 here. Processing is everything from a massive manufacturing facilities. I like to explain to our non-cannabis friends, it's like a food processor, right? We've had that particularly down in Cumberland County. We have Del Monte in Camden. We have former Progresso folks were located in Vineland for the longest time. There was a lot of seafood processing down along our shore. We're home to food processing, particularly in the agricultural space. So the Jersey's just primed for that. We've got the bones for it. We're also really good on the drug manufacturing side. Remember, New Jersey, it was literally the main corridor for pharmaceuticals for the longest time. Those economies have kind of gotten away from us, but the bones are here. So that's the big time, right? You know, medical processing, medical manufacturing, food processing, you know, flour to oil type of things. But then, you know, we have very boutique stuff. You know, a baker is a processor. A beverage maker is a processor. We don't have the ability yet to intertwine, I think, from a regulatory and legal standpoint, alcohol and THC infused products. I'm not sure where we get to, but there's no reason why you don't see, you know, THC-based products like non-alcoholic seltzers and things of that nature. There's markets for this, as we've seen in other states. The bones are here. This is coming. So the one thing I would leave everyone with is be ready. Be ready for that. If you're in that space, there is a pent-up demand for processing right now. The other thing I don't want to discount is what's coming here. God, I hope any day now. We've all been waiting for the results of the 2019 RFA. And there are going to be a lot of folks, unfortunately, that aren't ready to go anymore that probably win. There's 24 new opportunities coming out of that RFA that haven't been let yet, if they are. I mean, there's still some concern that it may, you know, the government always has the ability to pull back and say, we're not going to do this. I don't have any insight that that's what's going to happen. So we're waiting for these awards to be made. And then who are they and who's still left? And there may be opportunities immediately for folks here to jump in and help bolster a group that doesn't have the same resources that it did when it applied in 2019. It may not have the real estate that it had back when it was in 2019. And so, you know, the CRC is going to have to work and make accommodations where appropriate to fix those things if possible. But you all have opportunities immediately then. You're not waiting for another round. You're part of a winner that can't necessarily complete the transition because they don't have that same team anymore. They may need to supplement that. So we'll be looking for those. But, you know, I think the end all and be all is what's coming next. Ed and I have talked at length. We've talked a lot. And, you know, in some part, this is a guess because it has to be. You know, no one from the CRC has whispered to us and said, here's what's coming. But there's a lot of influence to what we do and how these conversations come. Is I think we're still in the medical round. I think there's still demand for medical right now. I think the benefit of New Jersey is that the medical operators have an opportunity to transition to adult use if they choose, if the municipality that they're partnered with or located in, however you want to frame it, chooses, and if the state deems they're ready. So, you know, we're not ready for adult use. You know, don't ask me, ask our friends in government. They're not there yet. I suspect we're not going to see adult use sales of any kind here till, you know, at the earliest the fourth quarter, but likely first quarter of 2022. I don't suspect we're going to see standalone adult use license opportunities till maybe the fall, but that doesn't foreclose the possibility you don't see another RFA, particularly on processing related to medical and maybe standalone retail. We also haven't seen the warehouse license come out yet, and we haven't seen like I said, delivery. And I know that the administration is going to be placing a high level of focus on a delivery for two reasons. One, they see that as a really good way to increase social equity. And I think that they also see that as a real focus on improving patient access for those that don't have the ability to travel to one of the dispensaries, even as we build out. So that's what's coming right now. I think the best news that we all have is this organization remains completely plugged in both to the policymakers, and there are some things in the legislature that are changing. There are 3 bills we're tracking, I would say right now, related to minority investment. There's a bill that my friend Troy Singleton, who has just been a phenomenal ally on this effort. He is a staffer by trade. Those are the best legislators who start out as staff. His counterpart in the Assembly and he are moving that bill along. We'll see where that goes. There's some bills related, there's 2 bills, Assembly and Senate, related to we'll call employment restrictions or employment rules related to those using cannabis in the workplace. And we'll see where those bills are going. Paul Sarlo and Andrew Zwicker in the Senate and Assembly respectively have bills there. We're tracking those. We're participating in that act. It doesn't necessarily have an impact on your license. It actually has more of an impact on the culture change we're talking about. And then I think the one thing that we're doing globally is it in the legislature. It's working, and this is something that's at the direct request of our friends in government that are leaning in on cannabis. Help us at the local level tell the good story about cannabis. So if you're sitting out there right now thinking, how do I elevate my profile? I see everybody in the chat, and this is really good. This is a great way to network and get to know each other, but how do you get out in space? Get out in space. Voorhees, this is next door to where I am, had a meeting the other night, I think, where they were, and I got a note from the council, one of the council people. They're going to have a workshop on cannabis, right? And I participated in one of these things the other day. I take every opportunity I can when a local government has asked me, can you come talk about this, to do it. Not because I'm benefiting a client or trying to lobby for a client. I'm trying to make sure that they open their door. I'm trying to make sure that they provide some opportunity for all of us to come in at some point. And they don't get to choose the winners and losers, the state does. They just get to provide opportunities. So if you have a parcel of land in their town, you're in, you at least have a chance to compete. And I counsel mayors regularly, don't try to pick winners and losers here. You're not able to do that. You'll get yourself in trouble if you try to too. If you're open to having cannabis in your town, welcome the folks. Let the state decide who's got the criteria to succeed. That's their job. But if you want to have it here, tell us where. You don't want it next to the school, great. You don't want it next to the park, great. You can work with your zoning to make sure that happens. You want it in your industrial park, great. You want it in this section of Main Street, even better. Because when you start doing that, we're going to start to see the profound benefit. I don't care, and I'm going to say this, and I hope everyone says this when someone calls you and asks you for a quote. I don't care when a town says no, because there's 565 municipalities in the state, and there's going to be more than enough saying yes. More than enough saying yes. The towns that say no, you're going to understand the story of Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs said no. The difference was Colorado had an opt-out and then a lockout. We don't. You can come back in. If you decide today you're not in this cannabis experiment, and then all of a sudden you watch your neighbor town rake in 2 of these licensees and they start to see the benefit, you can come crawling back. We allow you back in if you make the wrong choice. And I think that's smart, because I think the no's are going to quickly find out that through home delivery and the benefit that their neighbors are seeing with 2% and the ability to attract new retail traffic in, they're going to be looking in saying, what did we do here? So spread the good news. But what do you want to be? Where do you want to be? Focus on the next round that's hopefully going to be let, and look to processing, particularly if that's your face, that's where you want to be. I think you're going to be very excited about what's coming.
Yeah, Bill, you touched on a lot of great subject matter here. So I'll recap a little bit. So number one, be prepared. And as we talked about municipalities and location, right? Site control was resonating big, not only in past iterations, but has been very much a source of conversation for even future iterations of the application process. So when we talk about being prepared, it's the site, it's your municipal relationships. Part of that, if I can add, is making sure that you have the right team. It's having the right legal advisors. It's having the right political advisors. It's having the right financial advisors. So being prepared is in fact putting together all of these parts, legal, financial, political, or PR. These are firms, this is part of what you need to do to be prepared. When we look at some of the other things that you touched upon, look, I've said this, I got very little pushback, but I got some when I said that the cannabis industry was in fact recession-proof or pandemic-proof. We watched nationally as the cannabis industry stocks were going up, employment went up. Somebody mentioned, I saw in the chat, that Zenleaf opened near where I grew up in Neptune. Last week, I had the privilege to announce that Curaleaf, who is on our board, was opening 2 dispensaries. So this is an absolutely right industry to look at and to be in, to be prepared for. To use your analogy, right? Be prepared. As we're getting close to winding down on time, I just want to touch on, because I did see in the chat, someone was asking about, the least costly of licenses to pursue. And so I just want to take an opportunity and mention, and Bill, you were very much a part of this as I was, the conversations around how do we lower the bars to entry in this industry for minority potential license holders, minority businesses, women-owned businesses, for veteran-owned businesses or veterans. And so the micro license category was developed. Lower bar to entry. As I've shared in numerous conversations or interviews, that the notion behind that is, yes, it's a smaller space. Yes, it's a smaller crop. Yes, you're limited in terms of product and employment, but that also mitigates your risk. If you're the owner of a 200,000 square foot facility as opposed to a 2,500 square foot facility, if you lose 200,000 square feet of product, that hurts you a lot more than if you lose 2,000 square feet of product. So I do enjoy the notion of micro licenses, minority, women, disabled veteran-owned categories. And so what I'd like to do is just turn it back over to you, Bill, for maybe some closing comments. I would like to, before I do that, once again, I just want to acknowledge board members that are on this webinar. And in the chat room, our board members are extremely supportive of what we're doing, and they are tremendous professionals. They're in this chat. Also want to thank our sponsors, New Jersey Buzz, who's helping in the production, ABS, Carla Pollack, and ABS based in Trenton, part of our production team, Burton Trent Public Affairs, and of course, Bill, I want to thank you as you prepare for final comments. But thanks everyone for joining. We're looking forward to doing this next week. In fact, next week, another close friend of ours, Vaughn McCoy of Inglesino Webster, will be joining us and talking about actual processes and how we develop local ordinances, local practices, and policies. This conversation is in fact being recorded. It will be up on our website. I will post up our website once again. So Bill, again, a huge thank you to you. You're an outstanding individual, great corporate counsel. As president of the Cannabis Business Association, I so appreciate your counsel and the time that you give to the Cannabis Business Association, the state's first and largest trade association. So Bill, final thoughts?
Final thoughts are exactly as you said, get ready. I think most of us have been ready for a very long time. We've been waiting for finally this moment. And I think the good news for everyone, whatever you want to be in this space, you're going to have an opportunity to be it. If you want to be a large multi-state operator, there's opportunities still. And if you want to be in a vertically integrated operation, there's opportunities still. If you want to stay in the medical space, there's absolutely opportunities. I think if you want to stay in a more niche market, where your specialty lies, there's going to be opportunities there, as we've seen already. I think the other side of the coin here is if you don't want to be a licensee, and I think a lot of our folks that are interested in this right now are, especially in other areas, and trying to figure out where they blend. Believe me, there's so many. You're talking to a lawyer. We have accounting companies that are in this space now, and they're needed to be in this space right now. Engineering companies, packaging companies. So there's going to be room. And for the smaller folks, I see a lot of questions about investment and other things. We don't know exactly right now. It really depends. It used to be, if you're going to be a large vertical, you had to have this, but you don't anymore. more. And this micro program, which we all leaned in on, industry, advocacy, everyone came together and said, this can work, this is how. We don't even know where they're going to go with this program just now. They have significant ability on the regulatory side and how they allow. And I've talked about, and it's not my idea, it's Ed, Scott, others, that really talked about a criteria-based selection process that we've seen in other states. Could the state CRC develop a criteria-based system where if you have approval at your local level, have a parcel that fits the metrics of what the regs say, do you just get a permit for whatever you want? I mean, the micro isn't just grow, it's processing, it's retail. So there's some innovation there. So I still do believe that if you are interested in being in this cannabis space, the sky's the limit right now.
Excellent. Bill Caruso of Archer, the Archer firm, corporate counsel to the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association. Can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with us today. Thank you all, for all of you who took time out of your lunch hour to join us. I promise next week I'll be in another restaurant and I'll have lunch with you. But everyone, thank you so much. Thank all of you who are in the chat space networking. Really appreciate you all. God bless, take care, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.